What's going on YouTube? This is the third video for... Let's try this again. What's going on YouTube? So this is the third official video for the Astro and base build, other than that live upload we did. So this is kind of just basically getting everything prepared for our concrete pour, which will be hopefully the next couple of videos. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be pretty interesting. So far what we're doing is just kind of rebuilding the back, getting it all sealed up for our concrete pour, and then we got some of these metal arms sticking out for our amps, and we'll be fitting in our bank of caps and getting wiring going. But right now I'm just kind of getting the wood set up and getting the box prepped. So we'll go through some of the things I came up with on actually getting the adhesion between concrete and wood and steel, so that we have a really strong and well put together setup here. So I guess we'll get on with it. We'll explain more about what we're doing throughout the video and kind of show you some of me working and getting through it. Got dirty clothes for a dirty job, so not too presentable today, but go check out what's going on. So please hit that like button and the bell notification so you can see more videos coming up, and then check out the build. If you've missed the build so far, go out, check out the other builds. They're numbered, so 1, 2, this is part 3. So anyway, let's get on with it. All right, what's going on YouTube? This is going to be the third video of the Astro and base build. Today's Sunday. We got some work done last night on this, and we actually decided to pull the entire dash out. So this is the dash removed from the Astro, and we're going through the dash to fill things in with foam and seal off the firewall really well. So right now we're at our foam mess, and then we're going to be doing a lot of sound deadener and Vibraflex and things on all the parts of the firewall, with the attempt to seal it in really well so that we're not losing those dBs. So that was a long night last night figuring all this out, and going through what electrical is what goes through. Very difficult, but it's out. I have a plan to get it back in, so we'll see how that goes. As far as the enclosure goes, that's what we're looking at. Got the roof and the floor in. It just needs a good sand down. Working on the back piece, waiting on Craig to get some hardener for our resin so we can resin the back of it and get it installed. So I'm gonna be breaking out the welder here pretty quick once this piece is kind of inside the enclosure, and we're gonna put our seal bracing on the back side of the wall today. So it's coming along. I think I'm gonna work on this dash a little bit, clean up the cab. I always like to kind of stop in the middle of projects every once in a while and do a cleanup and kind of refresh on where I'm at. So that's what I'm gonna be working on while he's over there doing that. But all right guys, so we got some more resin going right now, letting that set off. This is for that big back piece. I can't really do anything until that's done because I want to put it in and then start welding up my steel cage in the back. So we're waiting on that. In the meantime, making some repairs on my Jeep. If you guys haven't seen the Jeep, go check out the rest of the channel. I'm gonna be welding up this door. As you can see, it goes through a lot of damage. That was welded up the other weekend and then it broke it there, so that's that. But the van's coming together. We have installed our Cheeto Puffs, and it looks like that. We have installed our Cheeto Puffs. I've never heard of that before. But you guys know what I'm talking about. It's just our spray foam. We're trying to seal up this firewall really well, like I was saying earlier, so we're making some progress there. This side's nice and done now, so you can see how that turns out. So now we're gonna put sound deadener over that and sound deaden everything in here, try to seal off any holes coming through the firewall. Somebody drilled that before for some stereo crap or something. Got the harness figured out a little more, so we're in a good spot. And then Alright, so as you guys just saw, we welded on these metal bars here, and these will be for our amp rack. So they're sticking out, and our amps are going to be able to sit on these. We're going to put a pedestal and everything, and they're long enough to make up for the thickness of our rear concrete wall and the depth of the amp rack here. So they're just going to rest on there. And I'm actually going to go ahead and put another set right there, and those are going to be available for the next set of amps. So when we have all 8 amps in here, but only have 4 right now. And then there's just enough room underneath these to slide in our cat bank and still have plenty of room in the back of the van. So everything's going to be really nice and situated on the back side of that wall. So I think I'm going to go try to muscle the amps in here if I can, and we'll see if it fits. If not, then I'll have to wait for Craig to come by, and I'll have 2 guys handle these things because they're kind of heavy. But I'll go see if I can get them. Alright guys, so there's no way for me to carry all 4 amps on their amp racks because they're already bolted together by myself. So I'm going to wait for Craig before I try this out, but I've already measured my width here, and they'll basically just sit. So you'll see that later on. I'm going to go ahead and put in the other 2, and then I think we're going to start building our rebar reinforcement for the concrete that goes in between, and then we'll build the back layer of our form here. So basically that's the box, and then we're going to come back about 8 inches, and that'll be about the thickness of our concrete. I'll build another little steel tube frame, stick some wood from this side, and then the middle is what fills. So, you know, around the side you can tell the van itself is going to provide the form for the outside. So that's where we're going with it, and I'm just going to keep cutting and welding and getting it together. Alright guys, what's going on? So this is the back of the van as you know it. We're going to be today putting on the rear piece that basically is my rear form. So if you get a good look at this, I haven't really gotten in here to show you guys, but if you can see, we got some layers here. So this is my back of my wall, obviously. It's braced in, and in between that we got some rebar reinforcement for our concrete, because our concrete's going to go in this section here. So in between these bars, and in this bar is where my back form goes, and basically back wall. And I got these arms extended out for my amp rack, so we can fit 4 amps here and 4 amps here. So we'll have room for 8, and underneath we'll have our capacitors. They're all going to lay out underneath, and we should be good. So in order to get this form to work, I'm going to be scabbing in pieces and sealing it off to the C-pillar, and really trying to build that up. So we'll be working on that today, and kind of show you what happens here. So I'm going to get on it and show you when we got a little more done. But basically, I'm going to start with just a big square piece that fits between these wheel wells, and get it to fit around my little arms and slide in. And then we'll just trim the sides in and make them sealed up. So that's where we're going with it. We got a sheet of MDF left, so it should be just enough to knock this out. get inside the box here and layering in these screws out into nowhere. And the point of those is so I can connect through a mechanical bond my wood to my concrete later on. So I'll show you that up here. You can see all these coming up. This is the screw I'm using, and the goal was to have a screw with a shank that was threaded all the way so that I could stick these guys in real strong and then have them sticking out like these spikes. And the whole idea is when the concrete's poured, it's going to kind of grip all the threads on these. And this is a thing that's done, not with this particular type of screw, but it's a mechanical bond. You know, it's the same idea that rebar has when you pour concrete slabs. So, you know, obviously wood and concrete's not going to really bond, so the only way is mechanically. And then the concrete has enough mass behind the wood that will provide our density and everything we need. So we got them down here, and they're going to help bite and hold the wood next to the concrete. And obviously the wood's attached to the metal frame too, so I think there's plenty enough contact to make this really rigid, and the concrete should be a nice backer for it as long as we vibrate it out nicely. So we're going to actually rent a pump and start pumping this from above, and run the vibrator and consolidate the concrete down in here really well, and give you an idea. Obviously we're not going to hear a little bit of resonance because the van, but so see how hollow and open that still sounds? That's with steel behind it. Still, listen to this. This is the floor that we already concreted. I'm hitting it almost harder. So you can hear there's a different resonance on the floor here, and it's a really thin piece, and you're still hearing some resonance off the sides. So that's the idea of the concrete. All right, so continuing on some of the things we were talking about. Here's all the screws put through the roof and to the back, millions of them. And then we got a rebar in here, and I got these little bridge pieces I'm making. I'm gonna make one more. And so let me explain what everything's to do now. So obviously steel cage is for you know, the box, and then the wood's for the box. And that provides our inner form and our structure, as you can see back here. And then I've popped all these screws through so that they have these anchors to the concrete. So their wood is really anchored to the concrete. It's going to bite these threads as long as we appropriately consolidate the concrete. So that's the use of a vibrator and some of the things like that. And then in the interior, we also have some rebar, and that's going to help keep the concrete kind of in place a little bit. Can I make it one with the vehicle in a way? There's really going to be no tension or compression being witnessed on this pour because it's not a structural element. All we're just doing is adding mass. So I just want the mass to be secured to the vehicle. So I mean, I didn't go crazy with the rebar. It's in there, and it's going to hold everything together hopefully. And then these bridges are mimicking the shape of my roof. I'm gonna have another one right here. That way I can screed the top of my concrete pour off to where it's just right under the roof, and then we can take our section we cut out and stick it back down and weld it all the way around, and it should fit pretty well that way. So that's all those really doing, is giving us a place to stop our concrete and for the roof to rest on when it goes back. If you look back here too, you can see this is basically the cavity that gets filled with concrete all the way down to the bottom, all the way across, and it's going to wrap around down into these areas. So it's hard to show you guys, but you can kind of tell our form runs along down under the side of the van. If you've seen previous videos, you kind of see it better. And today's goal is just sealing off the last of this gap here. So that's what we'll be doing. We also put fiberglass resin on these interior parts so that we could kind of keep it dry from the wet concrete not messing with the wood. You might have little leaks where the screws went through, but in general sense, the wood's not going to get deteriorated from moisture. On this back one, I said screw it because we're not really concerned about what it's doing structurally. And maybe it will provide some osmosis for moisture to get out of the concrete through the back of the van. The other big thing is going to be leaving the roof off for pretty much as long as possible so that the concrete can let moisture out, and that's how it's going to finish curing. So that's kind of where we're at on that, because we just don't want a bunch of moisture always trapped in here. Obviously, there's going to be some, but that's what's going to happen. Concrete will harden regardless. Moisture is actually good for the concrete, just bad for the elements in the concrete, like metal and things. So hopefully get some of that moisture to escape through the back panel and through the roof until we put the roof back on. Then it's going to be sealed up for good. So that's kind of what we're thinking there. So I think I got all my bases covered. To get the concrete down there, it's going to be a little bit of a trick, but you can see there's a path. And if we keep it somewhat soupy in consistency with some additives, we should be able to get concrete down there, and the vibrators can help us get it consolidated towards the bottom. But it goes way down in there if we can focus, but it's not doing it. And then the thickness of the concrete on the roof obviously is what you see here. And then we have an 8-inch thickness on the rear. So the rear wall will be the strongest of the walls, but it's the one that gets the most abuse because it has a span so far, and it is where the pressure is going to be bouncing off of inside the box. So that gives you a little bit of information on that. So enough ranting, get some more work done, show you where we're at. Seal off these sides here. Check it out, Craig, we're running. Dash is getting back in. I don't know what else works, but it runs. Let's see if she'll run now. See how much I screwed it up. Sweet. Got the dash going back in. It's not all the way in yet, but we're apparently have enough hooked up to run it. Good stuff. So we just had the dash all out, Vibraflexed the entire firewall, and I still need a little bit on this, and then we're gonna start the floor. Real messy, but should be a little better than it was.